All right, Virgo. So this is part two. I'm gonna dive right on into this message. You guys go back to part one to catch up. Okay, you will be able to find that somewhere on my page. Okay, but however, let's see what's up. So basically, before I left off, I wanted to see. Okay, why did things unfold the way that it did with the situation? The Tower card comes out in an upright position, y'all. All right, it's starting off heavy, right? The Tower had to fall, okay? It had to fall on this situation, right? Um, so when a foundation has become unstable or unsustainable, okay, and it can't support your future, that's why the tower happens. That's why your situation kind of just crumbled, okay? The tower doesn't usually show up, right, because something was meant to continue as it was. It shows up to dismantle it because it can't stay the same, okay? And so, looking at the story so far, we had the Three of Cups, the Knight of Wands, the Ten of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, and now this Tower. So this was like an inevitable collapse of what could no longer hold itself up, which was this foundation that you had with that situation. Okay. It didn't, your situation didn't fall apart because of one mistake. It fell apart because there were cracks, okay, that were forming in the foundation for a long ass time. Okay. And the tower wasn't really punishment, like I said. It was more about exposure. It was more about ending a cycle so that you can move into the next one. Like all the signs were there, but I feel like Virgo just wasn't moving or taking action, and so Spirit had to step in. Spirit had to step in, okay? And so the tower removes the illusion. It literally will force everyone involved to see reality as it is, right? Rather than what they hope for. And so it feels like all of this is connected to a future that could not be sustained in its current form, okay? And if this structure had remained standing, the problem would have remained hidden. And so the collapse was the revelation, all right? And so Virgo, what broke apart was already breaking. It was already ended. It wasn't ending, okay? The tower literally arrived not to destroy your future, but to remove what was preventing a stronger foundation from being built. And I heavily believe, Virgo, that you were the foundation that was broken, not a physical foundation, okay? You were the foundation that Spirit was rebuilding. And Spirit doesn't close doors because there's nothing behind it. Sometimes Spirit closes the door because you've been standing in the doorway too long. That's why the tower came out, right? That's why the tower fell or the storm came. And the thing that's interesting is that the person represented by that Knight of Wands reverse in part one may now be facing the consequences of what they avoided. And so the tower often arrives when avoidance is no longer possible. Okay. And what realization is this person having now that the tower has fallen? You could have just recently had a tower moment with this person. Some type of argument, or disagreement. And it created an emotional tower. I got the Four of Swords reverse and the World card in a reverse position. And what I'm seeing here is that the realization that this person is having now, this is a heavy combination. Okay, it's like an energy of restlessness. All right, this may have disturbed somebody's peace. Somebody could be replaying the conversation. Um, and the realization may be like, this isn't actually over. Not necessarily in a sense of reconciliation, but in the sense that the emotional, spiritual, or like practical consequences of what happened are still very active. Okay, they are beginning to recognize like something important was left unresolved. Okay, that their avoidance didn't necessarily create the closure, right? So that cycle is still open. That's what the world card reverse is talking about. And so someone is realizing that time did not erase what needed to be addressed. They may have hoped the distance, the distraction, or the avoidance would close the chapter, but instead they're discovering that there's a lot of unresolved issues. And you, like I said, you guys could have recently had an issue, a I don't want to say a misunderstanding, but it was more like a lesson that needed to be understood, um, had to transpire in this situation. And so they're seeing that, what was once pushed aside, it's demanding their attention now. Okay. Um, they may finally understand, what happened and why, possibly, right? So, what lesson is this person finally being forced to learn? A lot of them, because a lot of goddamn cards just flew out my head. They need to learn all of them. Let's see, let's try it again. I got the Sun card came out, but it came out on the side. Okay. Um, I feel like the lesson is still in progress for this person. And so basically, again, I don't see the lesson being fully learned yet. It's more like they're standing at the doorway of understanding, but they haven't completely walked through it. Okay. And so the lesson could be this person is being forced to learn that the truth eventually comes to light, right? Like you cannot build happiness on avoidance. Okay. And with the sideways position of the sun, it's literally suggesting that they are beginning to see the truth. Okay, but they're still wrestling with that truth. And the lesson is not simply about you, Virgo. The lesson is about this person. And they're being asked to see where they have been inconsistent with their own truth, where they avoided their growth, and um where they were expecting some type of different outcome without making a different choice. And so the light bulb is on now. Now, whether they fully will face what is revealed is the part that still remains undecided, right? Because if this person is still operating the same way, it's a possibility that they may not, you know, I don't know. This person is definitely having one of those moments like I can't get it out. I still can't get it out. They're having a moment. I can't get the aha moment out. I don't know why. Somebody may be dealing with somebody that stutters. Okay. Um, but yeah, they're understanding why everything is happening and why it happened the way it did. And that realization is arriving, but the acceptance is still catching up to that. Okay. And so that truth that they finally tried, that they tried to avoid is finally catching up to them. They cannot outrun what they've been avoiding no longer because the lesson isn't fully integrated yet. So what's happening? Peace.